Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Elephants. I'm your host, Destiny Farley, and today I'll be interviewing Kevin Perez about his experience being on probation for the majority of his early 20s. Kevin is 25 years old and was convicted of robbery in 2021. We'll get a little more into the details of what happened later in the episode. He was given 5 years probation and will actually be finishing that up this August. Being on probation obviously comes with a number of restrictions, including not being able to leave the state without permission and not being as hireable as other candidates for jobs. This has greatly impacted Kevin's life and his sense of self, and he'll be sharing some of those details throughout today's interview. But before getting into that, Kevin, can you just briefly introduce yourself and start by maybe telling me a little bit about just how you grew up out in New Jersey, because I imagine that, your childhood and everything with your family greatly impacted the person you are today. So, yeah.
Well, my name is Kevin. Obviously, as you guys know, I was born and raised in New Jersey, moved out here junior year of high school to Vegas to live with my father. Growing up, I grew up with my two siblings, two brothers. Lived in a household where it was just my mom supporting us. She was a teacher, kind of had I wouldn't say the most financially nice upbringing, but there was always food on the table, so I can't complain in that aspect. Moved out here, lived with my father till I was 18, then moved out, been living alone ever since. And yeah.
So your parents obviously are not together.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did they split in your childhood?
I probably wasn't even one yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're not the oldest.
Mm-mm.
Where do you fall in
Straight smack dab in the middle.
Middle child.
Mm-hmm.
Middle child.
Yep.
And so you lived with your mom basically for the majority of your adolescence, right? Because you were 18 when you moved here with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
What was and is, if it's different, your relationship like with both of your parents?
So growing up, since my mom was the main figure and the disciplinary aspect of my life, you can kind of tell what relationship I would kind of had with my mom. I always loved my mother, but it was a relationship that she was just the one handling out the discipline. And my father I didn't get to speak to my father until I was around 8 years old. Whatever story there is behind that, I'm not too sure. But my father then became my kind of escape and the good person that would always tell me the good things, and
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, kind of situation. It was just kind of my escape growing up, being able to call my dad and tell him about my problems. And obviously, since he wasn't in my life at the time, he wouldn't tell me the bad things. You know what I mean? He'd just try to sweet talk everything and make me feel better. And it was just kind of my escape from the reality of the time. So that was kind of the relationship growing up. And then that kind of switched over when I moved here, that my mom became my escape. You know what I mean? That I'd call her and tell her about my problems or what was going on. And she wouldn't tell me the bad things because she wasn't there with me. And I think that dynamic is a normal thing as a parent. If you're not in your child's life at the time, or you're not around them, you always want to be looked at like the good parent, like the good cop, if you want to say. So I would say that was kind of the relationship.
So what was the neighborhood that you grew up in New Jersey? I mean, I know you said you didn't grow up with like super wealthy or anything, but was it like a bad neighborhood? Was there any violence or crime growing up? What did you see on a day-to-day?
So growing up, I moved around quite a lot. I started off as far as my memory goes back, I started off in a trailer home kind of thing. with my stepdad at the time, which is my youngest brother's father. And then from there, we went ahead and moved to I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like an apartment building that was on top of a mozzarella making place. Uh, Smallish town, because obviously New Jersey's built off of towns. Smaller style of town. A lot of drug use in the area. I wouldn't say gang violence or like gang activity was too heavy, but the overall aspect of it being a good neighborhood definitely wouldn't categorize where I lived. From there, then I moved to another town, which was 2 towns over, and we moved into a house at this point, so where my mom was able to kind of settle down financially, because she was able to remarry with a new guy, 2 people in the household, a lot easier to financially support the
Like the kids.
the kids
What led to
and
like the
everything,
household,
all
yeah.
of it. And then in that new household, it was a little different. The neighborhood was a little different. I wouldn't say different in the aspect of nicer, but I seen it as different. Maybe because I was older, but still heavy in drug use. Just not the best, but not the worst.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say that like I grew up in Compton, but like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't the best and it wasn't the worst.
Did you get in trouble a lot as a kid growing up, like in school or with your parents?
Yeah, I got in trouble a little too much. I think, but it was just from stupid things like just being a kid, if you want to say, and just not having, like, I don't want to make this like a topic or like make this like an excuse for the things that I did, or just not having a father figure or like having a figure to give me direction and like show me what really needs to happen. Because my mother, yes, she did what she could do, and I would never take that away from her. But it's hard to deal with 3 boys while working, while having to feed us and do everything, and then like also show us the right way,
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you feel like she regrets keeping your dad away from you at all? Or
I don't know. That's a question you're gonna have to ask her.
okay. Do you feel like overall, like your childhood and just like the way you grew up played a role in your mishap, your slip up?
For sure.
Yeah.
I would definitely say the train that I was on from a kid obviously took me to the location that I ended up in. Um, but I also can't blame my childhood in any aspect, because the decisions that I made were the decisions that I made in that moment. Maybe my childhood had a effect of it, but I can't blame my childhood. The only person to blame is myself.
Okay. Well, you can take that accountability now,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I mean, our childhoods do play obviously a significant role. It's like the whole nature versus nurture debate. So without like not taking accountability, because obviously you were an adult at the time that it happened, but people do have, different backgrounds. Like I didn't grow up in neighborhoods where there was heavy drug use or a lot of crime or anything like that, at least not for any extended period of time. And I've also not like committed any crimes. So you could say that there's a correlation there.
Valid.
When you were a teenager growing up, like what did you picture your life becoming? Like what did you want your life to look like? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I don't know. That's as a child, I wanted to be as like work with animals, and like I just loved animals. And then as time went on, that dream or like that motivation of becoming something kind of faded away, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And
why do you think it faded away? And at what point, like what age do you feel like you started to lose the zest for life?
I would say freshman year, and like I hate to say this, but like I feel like drugs, like the introduction of drugs into my life, just smoking weed and like the small petty little things of drinking and partying and like just that overall lifestyle of not focusing.
So your freshman year of high school, is that when you feel like you started to turn down like a path for, I don't want to say like for the worse, but in a way that you weren't before? Like maybe you were more pure and just more of like a kid before. Do you feel like high school is when you started to kind of,
Hmm.
venture
Hmm.
off a little bit?
For sure. Like I said, my whole life I've been like a small troublemaker, not the best of kids, but high school, the introduction of high school definitely is where the car went left rather than
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Did anyone like, and I mean, I guess this kind of goes back to what you were talking about before with like your mom doing the best that she can and you not having a father figure in your life. But did you have anyone trying to steer you in a different direction that you felt like it was impactful or not really?
Not necessarily. Like I said, my mom always wanted the best for me. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say my mom didn't care on the things that I was doing, but I didn't really care on what she was saying at the same time. And
Do you feel like you didn't respect
I
her?
didn't respect her words, not in the manner because of something that she did, or it's just how I was. Like I had a really big problem with authority, if you want to say, and just being told what to do. And
Feel that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like if you had someone, whether, I mean, I guess there's no way to like answer a hypothetical accurately, but
Hmm.
if you had someone that had intervened at the right time, like do you think that you would have been a different person, or do you think that at that age you were just so stubborn and so like committed to just kind of being a troublemaker, as a lot of middle children are, for attention?
Mm.
Do you think that you would have turned out the same?
Only God could
Yeah.
answer that question. But if I were to actually think about it, like probably if I, for example, had my father there, or even my older brother to show me or tell me be in my life the way that they should be, then there's a possibility that my life could have been a lot different.
Yeah. Do you think about that ever,
I
or do you
try not
kind of,
to.
yeah.
I try not to.
Okay.
What are you gonna do
Um,
about it now?
yeah. At what point do you think that, because we were kind of just talking about this, how like nature versus nurture and the role that like your childhood plays in the person that you become, at what point do you believe, you stop blaming your childhood and you start taking accountability and trying to be a better person? Do you think there's an age or like,
I don't think I ever blamed my childhood, and I never looked at it as, oh, this is a result of like my childhood. Maybe now, as I've gotten older, within the past like few months, maybe if you want to say, or even maybe 1 or 2 years, I've started to realize that yes, like small things within your childhood and things within your childhood definitely shine a light in how you are now. But growing up, I never blamed anybody for anything other than myself. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So can you kind of, fast forwarding a little
Hmm.
bit, can you kind of take me through like the event of what happened? Like maybe,
Mm.
whatever you're willing to share, legally able to share.
Hmm.
Obviously nothing,
Hmm.
that you don't want to share, or that you moved on from, but just to kind of paint the picture of what happened, because robbery has a certain
Very, very.
connotation.
Hmm.
So maybe just explaining a little bit about what happened so people have a better idea.
Gotcha. So, this all occurred due to an EDC ticket, if we're being honest here. So pretty much I was going to go to EDC, which is a festival here in Las Vegas. And I had texted some kid on Instagram over his EDC ticket, set up a time. went to go pick up and buy the EDC ticket. When I get there in my car with my friend in the passenger seat, and the kid comes up. I have the money in my pocket, very normal. Was going to have a normal transaction. And the kid handed me the EDC ticket before I handed him the money. And at the time, in the way of thinking and just the way I made a very stupid decision and I just drove off. Internally in my mind, I didn't even think of it being bad. I didn't see it like. Now that I look back on it, it was obviously a messed up situation. I shouldn't have done it. And I affected somebody else, and which is like the hardest part for me, that I affected somebody else in the situation. Anyways, but.
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, that happened. I took the kid's EDC ticket, and about a week later.
Wait, backtrack really quick before. When you say you took his EDC ticket, like he didn't chase after you, like how did you get to the car without anything happening? Like,
so I was in the vehicle. I pull up in front of his house, and he came outside, came up to the driver's side. We were talking, that he was actually doesn't even live in Las Vegas, that he's from Mexico and he was out here on vacation. And mind you, he didn't even speak English. We were speaking Spanish and, regular conversation. And then he handed me over the EDC ticket. And you have to register your name to the actual serial number that's on the inside of the ticket. So I did that. And then like me realizing that, okay, like this EDC ticket's technically mine already, like it's under my name, I just simply drove off. And he obviously was like, hey, well, ran after, but like there was no physical aspect of it. There was no physical harm done, if you want to say. And then a week goes by, I go to EDC, I get home from EDC, and at the time I wasn't living with my father, but I kept most of my money and my like financial stuff at my father's house. And so I go to my father's house to go grab some money. And as I'm leaving, I pull into a smoke shop to whatever. And I see 2 police cars zoom into the parking lot. And I look back down, I look down at my phone, I look back up, and these police cars are surrounding my car. And guns drawn, they're yelling at me, they're telling me to get out the vehicle, hands up, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not understanding what is going on, why I'm getting arrested. Like, I'm asking them what's going on. Like, they're telling me, you'll find out down at the station. Cool. I get down to the station, and they finally pull out, I get down into the interrogation room, and they pull out this big binder with all of this information and like a big binder on just evidence against me. And I look and I see that it's about the EDC ticket. And at the time internally, like I start laughing. I'm like, all of this over something so stupid, something so minimal from what I thought at the time. And so pretty much he said, they were like, you think this is funny, but you're facing 2 to 5 years in prison for this. And that's when, it really hit me. It clicked that like, this is not a game. Like this isn't, just fun and games. Like I'm actually facing 2 to 5 years in prison, and like I'm sitting in the interrogation room. So from there, they took me. In all reality, the real aspect of the story was that the passenger that I was with had gotten out of the vehicle and robbed this person at gunpoint. That's what the cops had. That's what the idea that they had. So the reasoning that they got me and they had me in the interrogation room was to go ahead and pretty much snitch on the other person that was with me. And I knew that there was no gun involved. There was nothing of the story. So whatever story that the victim, if you want to call them, told the police, is something completely different of what really happened. And I wasn't going to go ahead and put this other person in that predicament or the situation that I'm in right now over something that didn't happen, you know? So I went ahead and pleaded the fifth, kept my mouth shut, and they brought me into the jail, went ahead and bailed myself out. And about a year later is when I finally went to trial. And then my first day of trial is when I went ahead and took a plea deal from 2 to 5 years to just 5 years of flat probation, because that sounded a lot better than
Well, yeah.
2 to 5 years in prison.
So at what point, because you said that they were under the impression that the other person is the one that committed the crime and you were just basically like an accomplice. So at what point did you admit to being the one that took the ticket?
From the get-go, from the jump.
Oh, you told them that day that it was you.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I told them straight, in all honesty, that I took the ticket. Now, the whole aspect of there being a gun involved is where things get really tricky, because they pretty much told me if I don't tell them who the other person was, that everything would fall onto me. And at the time, I was willing to like take that, because why would I put somebody else in this? That's just how I was thinking.
I mean, wasn't it all on you?
In technicality, it was, but 100%.
Yeah.
But the whole putting somebody else in that predicament is what made me look a lot worse in front of the judge or the jury or the prosecutors or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Did they end up talking to the other person at all? I mean, I imagine that they did if they're a witness to a crime, but are you in contact with that person? Did they talk to that person? Do you know what was said?
The passenger?
Yeah, your passenger.
The passenger was eventually arrested and was let off with absolutely nothing due to lack of evidence, because I was the one who contacted the person. It was through my Instagram, and it was in my vehicle, et cetera, et cetera. So there wasn't enough evidence to hold that person accountable.
Were you not thinking about the fact that they could see your license plate when you drove off?
Of course not. Of course not.
And it surprises me, like when they pulled you over to arrest you, I thought legally they have to tell you why they're arresting you or detaining you.
There was a warrant out for my arrest.
Oh.
Yeah.
How?
They actually had been stalking my dad's house for days. They had been parked outside of my dad's house waiting for me for
them to get the warrant?
No, they had the warrant. They were just waiting for me. And then that day, I went to my dad's house, and as I pulled off, they followed me all the way to the smoke shop.
I'm confused how they got a warrant, though, because I thought, I mean, I don't know how, I probably should know how it works, but I thought there has to be some sort of crime committed, or because what if I just go to the police and I'm like, oh, this person did this to me and I just don't like them, and now there's a warrant out for their arrest?
They had sufficient evidence that I was at the scene, and like they pretty much just had sufficient evidence.
Okay.
Like my car, my cell phone, the GPS on my cell phone.
They had access to that?
It's a funny story. So when I got arrested at the time, actually they did already have the GPS. They did. But what gave them more evidence is that since my vehicle was there and like I needed somebody to come pick up my car or it was going to get towed, I had to call somebody on my phone, and they always have their little tactics, and they were like, yeah, go ahead and call somebody. And then as I went to grab my phone, they were like, no. They were like, just put in your passcode. And they watched me put in my passcode, and then they were able to get access into my phone and then like verify all of the information of what occurred.
They don't have to ask for permission to go in your phone? Really?
They could do it just about anything. Maybe they don't. Maybe they can't. But my lawyer
Well, I guess if you have reasonable suspicion or whatever, it's like the same thing as searching someone's property. But it's weird to me that they wouldn't just ask you to put your code in if they were You know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering why they did it
Because
secretively.
when I remember at the time is that I had went ahead and put my code in to call, and then as I'm like talking to my stepmother to come pick up my car, I seen the cop on a sticky note writing down my passcode. And then as he took my phone back, he slapped the sticky note on the phone, and yeah.
Okay, to make sure, like, and that's how they found out that the pictures were not fabricated or edited or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
In the moment, or maybe not even in the moment, but in driving away or in the week and a half after, basically in that time period where there were no consequences for what happened, did you feel any type of guilt or remorse or fear, or because you just didn't think it was a big deal, you were like, I'm not even thinking about it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Not for some reason, that's just how it was. I didn't even think twice about it. Like, it wasn't just the way I was living at the time and the way I was. I just didn't even, it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah. And you feel differently now.
Oh, completely. Like,
Do you think that you feel differently now, though?
because I got caught?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think getting caught was a blessing, and in all reality, it was one of the best things that could have happened to me. It showed me that something so minimal, well, not minimal, but like in comparison to the things in the lifestyle that I really was living, something like that was that could have been so detrimental to my life. It really showed me that, like, this is not what, like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, there is no greener on the, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it showed me a lot, and I appreciate it that it happened to me, and like I'm thankful that it happened to me.
Because you think you maybe would have done something worse or been worse off?
For sure. 120%. 120%. I would probably be in prison by now, or, like, I don't even want to say it, but yeah.
Yeah. When did that realization, well, I guess it would be two separate, it's twofold, because the realization of how serious, like, the situation was, I'm assuming, is when the cops were surrounding you, and you were in the interrogation room. But would you say it's fair to say that's when, like, you realized how serious it was?
I could tell you the exact moment.
Okay.
The exact moment is when I got into my cell, and I was in a cell with 15 other guys, homeless, from murder, from credit card fraud to this, that, and the third. And I was sleeping under a bench, like under the bench inside the cell, with like a little toilet paper roll as my pillow. And that's in that exact moment, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, and in that moment, I prayed to God, and I was like, if you can help me out of this situation, like, I will genuinely change myself.
Yeah.
Because this is not, it's not like, it's not even for me to sit here and say, like, oh, this life is not for me, and like me act like a coward in that moment. It was more of like, if I continue this, the people that love me, like my mom and my father, it's going to affect them in ways that I would never be able to repair. And I guess, like, that's the real reasoning behind it. Like, it made me realize that, like, it took the selfishness away from me, and it made me be not selfish, pretty much.
So at what point then in this whole process do you feel like you started to feel like it was a blessing? Like, you started to see the silver lining or the other side of it and feel grateful for what happened?
Definitely within a few months of it happening, because for the first few months, you know, I was sat inside the house, very just trying to calm myself down and like realize and understand what I should be doing, because I didn't know how to be a regular civilian, if you want to say. Like, I didn't know how to be a regular person. I didn't know how to do these things. So, after a few months where I got my first job and I started working in the restaurant business, and like that kind of opened me up to a whole new world of like, because also another thing is I was very like, closed off. I didn't really like talking to people. Like I was just in my own world. I just did what I did. I had the friends that I had, and like I didn't really like to communicate and like put myself out there. And I also think that, and that's why I see it as such a blessing, because it kind of dominoed effect a lot of things in helping me be who I am now. But yeah, getting into the restaurant business and like talking to people and like being like out there, and being the person that people look to and like, for example, like ask things for, and like even though it's something so minimal as like asking for water or like whatever, like me having to respond and comply with that helped me break through the person that I used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your parents' reactions when they found out about what had happened?
My father wasn't surprised.
Really?
And my mother was distraught.
Mm.
Yeah.
Were you offended that your dad wasn't surprised?
No, not at all. I wasn't offended at all. It was more of like, I felt more of ashamed. It was like more of like, I felt ashamed that I had to go ahead and call him and be like, hey, like, I'm in jail, So I wouldn't say offended, more ashamed.
The reason I ask if you were offended is because for him to not be surprised, that means that he would have had to think that you were capable of something like that prior.
For sure, and I don't blame him.
Okay.
And because I showed him, and I showed my mother like those attributes, if you want to say, and just the overall type of person I was at the time. Like I wasn't hiding. Like I wasn't hiding it, So
yeah. And your mom was emotional.
Yeah, very, very emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do they feel about it now that like your sentence is almost done?
Very excited for me.
To start over.
They're proud of me, like the change that I made, and they see that. And they're actually they think the same way I think. They think it was a blessing. It was something that needed to happen to me, because
your wake up call.
Yeah, everybody. Well, how I am as a person is that to change or to realize something, I need to hit my head very hard. And that was hitting my head very hard.
Yeah. So as far as the you're almost done with your probation now. So round of applause. You have a lot of experience on it now. Like people hear the word probation, but a lot of people probably don't know what it actually means. What is your, maybe it's not like a day-to-day life thing. Maybe you don't feel it or experience on a day-to-day, but what are some of like the ramifications or obstacles that you've run into, or things that you don't get to do, like check-ins and like being on good behavior and not being able to leave the state without permission. Like, what does it look like for you?
So it's like you said, it's like the whole aspect of not being able to leave the state without permission. It's just like there's good pros and cons of the situation. Like, yeah, it's bad that I have to ask for permission to leave the state, but also in the factor of like, maybe me leaving the state and going on that spring break trip to Florida, Miami, could have gotten me in more trouble. Or like, I always look at it in that aspect. And then like on a day-to-day life, honestly, it doesn't really like affect me as hard as like that I have to do check-ins every day, or because I'm technically at this point I'm on low risk probation, so I'm not on the radar as heavy.
When did that switch? Like, because I imagine
Yeah.
it wasn't like that to begin with.
So within the first year of me being on probation, they had seen that this was my first offense, that I had been working, that I already had been working. So from my original arrest to my signing and conviction and signing my plea deal is when I had gotten my job. And the fact that I had been working consistently, I have been just no traffic violations, no nothing, no, you know what I mean? I had been clean. They went ahead and after a year of being on probation, they dropped me down to low risk probation. So in technicality, I only have to do check-ins every 3 months a year. So that, and then once a month, I have to obviously go and pay for my probation.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Is it expensive?
No, it will.
You don't have to
Over
say,
the
but
5 years, it adds
Yeah.
up, but it's only $30 a month.
Okay.
But over 5 years,
Yeah.
it adds up for sure.
And what when you say check-ins, what do check-ins mean? What do those look like?
So it's me going in, talking to my probation officer, having a discussion of what my life is looking like, where I'm working, what I'm up to, making sure that all the information that I'm giving her is up to date and like that it's accurate and truthful. And it's nothing crazy. It's a very simple conversation, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. But other than that, yeah. But the only thing, one big thing that does affect me, if you want to say, is random check-ins.
Mm.
That kind of is always in the back of my head of like, is there something that I shouldn't be doing? Is there something that's like in my house that shouldn't be in my house, or whatever it is? Like that thought and that like,
which nothing ever is. But
no,
it's
nothing
just
ever is.
like
it's just the anxiety and the
edge.
thought process of like being laying in bed and then all of a sudden you hear a big bang on the door and it's like, yeah, nobody likes that. So that's just one thing that kind of, I would say, affects me throughout the probation.
You get PTSD when you hear the door knock.
Yeah.
Okay. And what have you learned about like the criminal justice system now that you've been through it that maybe you didn't understand before? I guess everything that you're saying about probation you wouldn't know if you weren't on it, but did it give you any new perspectives on the criminal justice system? I guess you'd only be able to speak in terms of like the state of Nevada, but have you had like, given the circumstances, have you had a positive experience with like law enforcement, and
100%.
What have you learned?
The biggest one word that I can give to that question is respect. I have respect for law enforcement now. I have respect for the justice system because it's not fun and like it's real, like if they will like it'll catch up, you will get arrested, and like it's not a game. It's not like a movie, like it's real, So that's the biggest word that I can, or the best answer that I can give is just overall respect for authority and respect for law enforcement.
Do you think that, and you can only speak on your experience because there's such a variety of experiences and different crimes and different experiences of people with different backgrounds and ethnicities and things like that. But based on your individual experience, do you feel like the system is more designed to punish, to rehabilitate, maybe to monitor people, something in between? What was your experience like?
See, my experience is a lot different from a lot of other people's, so I can't sit here and speak for other people's experiences.
Right.
But I would say it was rehabilitating, obviously, like it made me open my eyes. There is a lot of flaws within the justice system. For sure, a lot of flaws, but yeah, I can just say, in my experience, rehabilitating is like the best.
Have you had the same like officer and staff that you've worked with the entire time, or has it switched at all?
No, it's I've switched 2 different probation officers. And in all reality, if we're like, they don't care about who you are. You're just another name. You're just another number. And
As long you feel like basically your experience was as long as you are respectful of them and their job, they're
mhm.
going to do what they can to help you out as well.
In retrospect, yes.
Yeah,
Like
which
if you do what you have to do and what you're expected to do, you won't have any problems. Like you won't, the things that they want you to do and the way that they want you to be on probation is how you should live your life. And like it'll help you do what you need to do and help you get to where you need to be. Like that's the whole point
yeah.
and aspect of it, is to, like I said, rehabilitating, you know?
Yeah. And your rehabilitative experience is obviously in large part because of your contribution to that experience, right? You know, like
Mhm.
if you it's part of who you are as a person and your cooperation. So I guess it's twofold, you know, but
Mhm.
again, it's just your unique experience. Is there anything, like I know you said that it's changed you as a person and that you're grateful for it now, but is there anything you feel like you've missed out on?
Uh, so many opportunities.
Like what?
Um, for example, work opportunities, and um, I just feel like sometimes meeting people, I have to kind of close myself off and not show who I truly like, not the fact of who I truly am, but just hide a certain part of me, which is a big part of me at the moment. Like I'm on probation, you know. It's just it just shows an image of like a person that that's not who I am anymore, and like that's not the type of person I am, and that it just feels like it's like hanging over my
It's like
head. Is Yeah, it's
looming.
like always there, and it's just an idea and a thought in the back of my head that makes me not be there 100%, or like do what I want to do, you know?
All right, so you're nervous like to share that with people,
For
like that you
sure,
meet?
100%, 100%.
Have you had like mixed responses from people? Like how do people usually respond?
Usually people respond in the same way, that it's like their initial response, obviously, when I say that I'm on probation for robbery,
Yeah.
it's like a little crazy. But
Yeah.
then when I explain the story, they get to like, you know, understanding, and it's not as heavy. Um, and across the board, this is usually kind of how people react. But I don't know. It's just always a thought in the back of my mind of, you know, it's not, then, you know, if I were to meet a person and they told me that they were on probation or whatever, like I would automatically it's kind of like the judging a book by its cover, you know? Everybody does it. You know, it's something that everybody does. If you sit there and say that you don't, like you're lying,
Right.
to a certain extent, you know? But yeah, that's just kind of how I see it. Like it's something that's embarrassing, you know? It's an
Mm,
embarrassing thing, because
yeah.
that's just not the person I am anymore.
Do you regret it?
No, I don't regret it, because that happening, okay, let me say,
No, I hear you.
I
Go ahead.
regret it in the aspect of like I made somebody feel a certain type of way, and I did something wrong, but I don't regret it because it's helped me be who I am now, you know?
Yeah.
So
100%. Um, how did it impact like your mental health throughout the process? I'm sure there
mm.
were ebbs and flows, you know, especially compared to what the experience was like at the beginning and the fear and the uncertainty about what your life was going to look like. Um, but like overall, what was that journey like for you mentally?
So in the beginning I was very frustrated, angry, just not in a good headspace because of, you know, it just took my whole life and like what I was going through to a halt, and it's kind of just it was weird, you know. I felt weird, but at the same time, like
Did it impact Sorry, you go ahead. You finish.
It was just very confusing at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, it was a mix of so many different emotions, a mixture of embarrassment, a mixture of anger, a mixture of, r- I wouldn't even say relief, but like kind of just the overall thought of something, because that's just also a type of person I am, that I always try to look at the good side of things and like what good can come from things. And some, I guess, a little bit of relief, that I'm starting over, that I could start over. Um, Anxiousness, like that I have to start over, like I have to, it was just a mixture of a lot of things. And then as time went on, obviously you go through life and you start to unravel things, you start to unravel your life. And that's something that I'd never experienced prior, like getting my own apartment and buying my own new car and this and that. And it started turning, all of those emotions started turning into something of like me being grateful for that happening, because
Yeah.
I was able to do all these things the right way. And it showed me that it's possible, it's possible to do things the right way.
Yeah. How different do you think your life would have been if you did go to prison?
Like I said, I'd probably be,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't be looking at this camera right now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm sure you wake up every day pretty grateful then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to say that.
Well, to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Did it affect the relationship that you have with yourself, like as a man? I mean, I know you've broken down some of that, like the ways that you've grown,
Mm-hmm.
but did you feel like disappointed in yourself?
I wouldn't say disappointed in myself. I would say more, just overall, like in that exact moment, angry, and I felt stupid because I just felt stupid because I felt it was something so stupid to me at that time. And I don't know, it's a hard question to answer,
Yeah. Has it, I mean, and you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable, but do you feel like it's impacted like your self-esteem at all? Or maybe when you were younger, or is it more because you have the ability to control like who knows and who doesn't know, you can kind of keep that under wraps and under control?
At the time, I know it's just the type of person I was.
Yeah.
At the time, I felt cool. Like it
Mm.
made me, like my self-esteem was like higher, like, oh, like
Okay.
I got arrested, like it's, like I'm a cool guy. But now that I look back on it, it's just like, dude, like what do you, like,
Yeah.
but I also look at it as like the fact that I was a child. Like, yeah, I might have been I was 20, but yeah, I was 20, but like mentally I was not 20, and I feel like I've done a lot of growing for sure within these last 5 years, and like, and that's why I'm so grateful that it happened. And I know it sounds so weird to say, but like, I'm very grateful that it happened to me.
Do you feel like you're almost wise beyond your years now?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel older than 25?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Like you've lived a lot of lives.
I've lived one too many lives.
You kind of expedited like all your lessons, all at once. Because I think something that you were talking about that I think is true. I mean, you say it about yourself, but I think it's true for a lot of people. Maybe, if not everybody, most people, where you have to experience something or go through something to really learn the lesson. Someone can tell you, that's why like parents can sit there and like speak words of wisdom to you and tell you what not to get into and how to be and try to give you like these morals and these values and things. But like growing up and just being a kid, like you think you know better, or, you have to hit your head a few times to really experience it. I know that it looks different with different people. I guess some people are more open to advice and kind of heeding the
Mm-hmm.
words of other people, especially if they have like more of a respect for authority. But I feel the same way, not, when it comes to criminal activity per se, but no shade. But when it comes to like learning lessons, um, just in general, like people can tell me something or tell me not to do something or tell me what they think is good for me or right for me. I also struggle like very much with authority and being told what to do. And I have since I was little. Um, so I share like that personality trait with you. But for me, the most impactful lessons that I had were always the ones that I lived myself, even if
Mm-hmm.
they were the most painful thing that I could have experienced or the worst way that I could have done it. I almost feel like it's the amount of suffering and struggle that you go through as a person is like directly correlated to how much you grow. Um, and you should also give yourself credit if like no one has told you, like, because people can do different things with that. There are people that commit crimes and stay committing crimes, and they haven't hit their head hard enough to change and to turn themselves around. And yes, like this is something like pretty extreme, I guess not in like the grand scheme of things. It's not like you murdered somebody,
Yeah.
but if we're talking about regular citizens that don't commit crimes and,
Mm-hmm.
being on probation, it's kind of an extreme way to learn that lesson. But you've taken something very extreme and in a short amount of time in your early 20s, which is hard for young adult men to like really become more wholesome people at that time and at that age, and
Mm-hmm.
you've turned it into something good for yourself, so you should really give yourself some credit for that, which I know you do, but just in case no one has told you.
I appreciate that.
When you look back now, like at that version of yourself, like how do you feel about a younger version of Kevin? Do you feel like compassion for him, or do you feel critical or angry still? Like when you think of that version of yourself, what feelings come to mind? I'm being your therapist now.
Absolute idiot. Just a knucklehead. And I look at it in the fashion of like it's who I was. It's who I can't go back in time and switch it now. I just look at it as I was a knucklehead and I was an idiot, and there's nothing I could do about it now. It's
So you're
just,
pretty accepting, you think?
yeah, of course, because everybody is their own way. Everybody has their own vices, if you want to say. Everybody has their own faults. Nobody's perfect. And who am I to sit here and not even talk bad, but like just look at myself as a younger me and just talk down on that person and like look at that person like as if it wasn't me, because that was me and like that's who I was. So just accept it, accept, be truthful with yourself, accept who you are, figure out what you need to do, like how to change yourself, how to better yourself, and just do it. There's no need to sit here and relish in the fact that I was who I like, the bad person
Yeah.
or the things that I did. It's just, it is what it is.
Do you think that it's made you more like compassionate and understanding of other people and their flaws?
For
And like,
sure, 120%. 120%. Because who am I to sit here and point fingers and say you're this, that, and the third when I used to be this, that, and the third? When I used to be this, that, and the third, and the fourth,
yeah,
So it's definitely made me a lot more compassionate towards people and understanding, and
less judgmental,
for sure,
basically.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you're able to separate like who you are today from, I don't know if you consider that the worst decision you ever made, but how do you separate those things,
It's a really good question, because I'm not going to sit here and say I don't beat myself up about it, because I definitely do. Um, but just try not to, just try to take it. I feel like I try to just take it on the chin and like, what am I going to do about it now? Like I said, I do beat myself up about it, and like I am angry in certain ways about it, and like it's just who I am, and like who should I say who I was, and I just have to live with it. It's something that you have to learn to accept. It doesn't matter from what walk of life you are, like what mistake you've done or whatever it is. Like you just gotta have to accept it.
Yeah.
And just live with it, because what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You cut it out and forget it, like it's not possible. And by doing that and cutting it out and forgetting it, or just removing it and acting like that wasn't you, it just shows that like you haven't like worked on yourself. You know what I mean? You haven't fixed yourself. Like you haven't really taken the time to understand yourself. You just want to kind of delete it and like don't even think about it. That's not how, it's not good. It's not good, because it eventually will peek through or mess you up eventually in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of healing, Kevin.
For sure.
Are you aware of that?
You think so?
Are you aware? Like, do you feel like you've done a lot of work or a lot of healing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can tell. Like you can sense it in your answers, in the way that you carry yourself, in the way that you're able to talk openly about it and share it with other people. That's always like a huge indicator to me that someone has healed in some capacity from something. Because if you're not, and not that it's a bad thing, but if you're not able to even talk about it, it still has a pretty firm grasp on your emotions. So being able to be vulnerable in, because doing something like this, you open yourself up to other people's perceptions. Despite there being a whole story behind it, you still open yourself up to other people being critical, other people hearing everything you say and it going through one ear and out the other. And being able to know those things and share it with somebody and share it with multiple people that are strangers that you don't know shows that there is like a solid foundation there, that you know who you are, irrespective of what other people think or who other people think you are. And that you were able to take this and like integrate it instead of excluding it from yourself. Like that's not an easy thing to do with anything in life, let alone like something that changed your life so drastically. So I just want to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
What would be your advice to young people right now who are criminally active?
Let me get this one right.
Okay.
Do not do drugs. I feel like drugs are one of the things that most affected me in my decisions and everything in that aspect. Secondly, the second thing I could say, do what you want to do. If you want to go and jump off a building and do a backflip off a building, go do it. If you want to take a skateboard and go skateboard all the way to Cali and skateboard back, have fun. Do whatever you want to do, but make sure you go to school and you do what you have to do in school, because school is not just a place of learning. Yes, it is, but it's a place of learning discipline. And discipline is one of the biggest things. And like, as a man, if you want to say, and in my perspective, having discipline and having a certain way of being is very important. I feel like school teaches that, school teaches how to be to class on time. Even when you're home, like homework, like, fuck homework, but like, it's important because you're going home and it's something you have to do, and you're doing it, even though it doesn't matter, like in that aspect, like, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. Like the material itself, you may not ever use again. It's the principle of being committed to something that you have to do. That's always what I tell people too, because I get the idea that school, like, you're not going to use half the shit that you learn. And I was really good in school, but I really hated school.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people think that those two things can't coexist. I was valedictorian, and school made me more depressed than anything else in my life. And I do think that there's a lot of issues with the school system. But me having, and I can attest to this, like me having that discipline to have my extracurriculars and be tired and still go home and study and do what I need to do to get the A has translated into and leaked into every other area of my life. And it's the reason that I'm successful. It's the reason that I have a lot of the blessings that I have today. I'm all for like, fuck the system, and I'm not about to be a worker bee, and you're not going to train me to just be a number in a corporation, all that. But I went through the school system and still feel that way, So it's, when I was teaching, I would tell my students this, that you don't have to care about anything that you're doing. It makes it harder when you don't care about the content and the assignment and everything. But it's a commitment and a promise that you're making to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can do things when you don't want to do them. And that is so good for your brain. There's so much research on how your brain builds like neuroplasticity and resilience and critical thinking skills, and so much when you do something that you don't want to do, when you ignore that part of your brain that's like, no, let's just lay down instead of going to the gym. Or no, like, there's this girl that's hitting me up on Instagram and I have a girlfriend, but like, I kind of want to see what's up. Like, discipline is every facet of your life.
Yeah.
So it's a muscle that you exercise.
Yeah, it's something that I've learned after this my whole issue and my whole problem is something that I adapted is when I tell myself, for like an example, like, oh, I got to take out the trash right now. And like internally, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to go outside. When I feel that and I hear my internal voice say that, now I go and I have to go take out the trash because of the fact that I don't want to. And like, that's something that I've learned and I've like tried to adapt and carry, is when you don't want to do something is when you should do it most.
The most, yes.
And that's something that I've learned. I don't know if it's from age or like over time, or from the actual problem itself, but
yeah.
Obviously
easier said than done.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%.
Exercise.
But yeah, back to that question: do not do drugs
and go to school.
Okay. Those are the two biggest things I could tell you.
Is there anything else that like I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on or want to cover? You feel like I pretty much covered everything.
I would say that's like, if we want to talk about the criminal aspect of my life. And like that whole situation, it's pretty much in a nutshell. No, not in a nutshell, it's pretty descriptive, but that's pretty much it, yeah.
Well, and you're more than just the criminal part of your life.
I'd hope so.
As I made sure to wrap up by saying, just so you don't have to feel bad. But yeah. Again, thank you for coming on and sharing all that with us. And
of course.
I appreciate you being open about it. If you guys have any other questions for Kevin, I'll have his contact information available on all of my social media channels. And I will see you again in 2 weeks to talk more elephants.